he says,
no refund necessary.
alrighty. So I think what we'll do is if there's anything that you do want to buy or any additions you want to make, we'll have you do it kind of off this next week and a half or 2 weeks, and then we'll just continue with the story, and then we can add it in as we go, if everybody's okay with that.
No problem.
Yep.
All right. So you guys kind of have some banter and some small talk. You guys go up to your room, kind of spend some time within the town, doing the things that you do in town, I guess. And after about a week or so, a gentleman comes up to you, and he says, good sirs, you're out and about, kind of in the town, sort of enjoying the areas. He says, Master Manzorian is here. Celeste asked me to ask you guys to come to the back to the inn, so that way you guys can all go over to the fortress. So as you guys head back, you see her there. She's dressed very nicely, kind of not in the sort of the clothes that you see in her picture, but she's more in a kind of a nobility type dress that she has. She doesn't have any armor on. She's not carrying any weapons at all. And you see Elagos is there too, and he has on very, very nice wizard robes. And says, "All right, I guess we are ready." So as you guys are kind of walking towards the long stone causeway, Celeste kind of turns over and looks at Cormir and says, Mr. Cormir, I suggest you don't cast any spells from here on till the fortress. Master Manzorian has some very special defenses that if you cast a spell within the distance, you will be imprisoned somewhere in his fortress, so I would recommend it. And then she looks over to Razik and she says, I understand that you and your friend, the dinosaur, also like to fly. I wouldn't recommend that either. If anything flies towards the fortress, there's a lot of things that would definitely destroy some anything that flew there. So I would definitely try to stay away. I think that would be a good idea.
So we can't cast spells or fly?
Correct.
Okay.
And so you guys continue across the this long stone walk, and as you kind of get up to the entrance of the castle, or the fortress, you do see that there is a guard that's standing there at the gate. He kind of nods to each of you, and he says, as you go by, he says, Lady Celeste, welcome, and Master Elagos, welcome, Master Bose, welcome, Master Razik, welcome, Master Cormir, welcome, Master Tanner, welcome, and Carl, welcome. And he kind of holds the door open, and you guys definitely feel like, this is definitely a place of, kind of big nobility, and there's a lot of power. You can feel, actually, when you walk through, you can feel the power sort of pulsing through. And they kind of quickly usher you through the courtyard and into this the beautiful central tower that has the blue, jewel-like appearance to it. And it, obviously it kind of speaks of kind of like a lot of money and power that you guys can tell. And you can feel the currents of, especially people that practice arcane, you can feel it kind of rippling through the air as you walk through. The hairs on your arms kind of stand up, and you sort of get that almost giddy kind of chill feeling across your skin as you go through. And the guards continue to, guide you through, and they're very polite, and they don't make any qualms about you having your weapons or armor on or anything. They don't look at you differently, and then he kind of opens up a door into a kind of a large chamber, and he politely gestures for you guys to go into the room, and kind of after you guys go in, you notice it appears to be somewhat like a study or something. He positions himself a few feet down the hall from the entrance, standing there at guard, and when you enter in the room, it's kind of a long, airy chamber, and it has a high ceiling, and there's lots of adornments kind of all throughout. There's a deep blue carpet that covers a lot of the floor. The walls are thoroughly covered in a wide range of paintings, each depicting different exotic locales or dangerous regions in the area of Farron. You even see some planar pictures too of planes of the shadow, which you guys obviously are familiar with. You see a large fiery land, which you assume is a plane of fire, and a lot of different things. And there's some pictures where you don't have any clue what it is. You've never seen anything or anything like it. Some of it's like abstract art and stuff, just kind of wondering what it is. And then you do see that the paintings are all kind of rendered with extraordinary skills, almost as if you're looking out a window to look at remote locations throughout the world. There's a lot of overstuffed chairs that are kind of throughout the room, and at the far end there's a massive antique wooden desk. Its surface is kind of covered in scrolls and books, and there's statuettes and stone tablets and quills and vials of inks. And then there's a very expensive dragon chess set that's sort of set on the side on a very ornate table, and the pieces are all sort of in a mid-game at this point. Can I have a perception roll? As you guys are rolling that, wow, Tanner, nice roll. So you see a kind of a 60-year-old man who sort of sits down at the desk, and he's kind of working through his papers. He's in good health, but he's not really musculature at all. His hair is kind of streaked with gray, and he kind of has a large nose, if you want to think of it almost as if you're not to. I'm going to stereotype, so almost an Italian nose, if you want to think of that. There's a real large nose. He wears blue robes, and they kind of have a symbol of a thin scimitar that's kind of on there, and you guys know that this is sort of the coat of arm of Manzorian. You've seen it all throughout his house, and he's kind of working there. Tanner and Tanner and Bose. As you go by the chess set, you are able to notice that the pieces are exactly arranged like they were in Lustin's house. So Lustin had a set just like this that was set up in the same positions. The pieces were all in the same places as well. And as you get there, Manzorian kind of looks up and sees you guys, and he says, "Hello, thank you for coming. I appreciate you coming. I apologize that I wasn't here. Please accept my apologies."
Oh, no problem. No hurry. We were glad we could make get the time with you to be able to go over things.
Gotcha. He says, please sit down. I would appreciate you to have a seat. Please have a seat. And he kind of looks around and goes, Agath, where are you, Agath? And you see a gentleman sort of in the corner. You didn't really notice there was a door there, but now you see that there's a door. You see another gentleman that kind of walks through the door. This is another human. I think I have a picture of him. I don't have a picture of the other guy, but here's Agath. So Agath kind of walks in, kind of a stern gentleman that kind of walks into the door. He says, Agath, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I thought you were already here. Would you mind yelling and telling Bum Bum that he needs to come in and bring in some drinks for us? You hear Agath say, Bum Bum, in this sort of almost like not an invisible servant, but some sort of sort of creature, mystical type of thing, kind of comes in the room, has drinks in 4 of his hands that he has. So he has 8 hands total. Kind of comes in and sort of sets them down all on the table, and Manzorian kind of sits down and he hands out drinks, and it's all your guys' favorite drinks that you guys have that you like, and he has it all arranged for you. And he says, good to meet you. He says, have you guys met Agath yet?
Did we? No, we haven't met any.
Nope, not yet. So he's a very kind of stern-looking, middle-aged man. He's wearing black robes that are kind of all covered in stars. He says, if you ever go down to the temple, Agath is definitely the gentleman to talk to. Agath is just going to be here sort of to chronicle what we discuss, because in the temple we like to keep all the information there, so that way if anybody else comes in the future and needs to learn about the ill things that you guys have come across, that maybe they can also help fight what's going on. So he kind of sits down and kind of looks around and looks at each of you, and he says, Well, I have to be honest. I did think that Tanner was going to be a little taller, and Bose, I didn't expect you to be so experienced. All the rumors and the discussion makes it sound like you are younger than your age, and please don't take offense to that.
None taken, thank you.
No problem. Then he looks over to Quorum and he says, this is a mage, a sorcerer that is definitely up and coming, no doubt about it." And he kind of gets a big smile. He says, "I've heard a lot about you, Cormer, both here on this plane and in others, I have to be honest."
Was it Otherworld? Did it have a lot of dolls?
He kind of laughs. He says, "Yes, Celeste told me about your dolls. I thought that was quite ingenious, I have to be honest." He says, "I would say that I had a chance to get one, but unfortunately I've been too busy to get to Waterdeep. But I hear they are all the rage, yes."
We'll have one sent.
Thank you, thank you.
Wouldn't want to miss out on it.
He says, "So, as you guys probably know, I'm fairly busy. I'd like to kind of get to the point and kind of sit down and talk. I know that Lustin had sent me a message telling me about this, Age of Worms and all this kind of talk about these worms and whatnot. And he recommended that I have an audience with you and to kind of talk and see if we could maybe come together and figure if we can figure out what's going on. So please tell me what's going on."
All right, we'll go over everything that's taken place since we last were with was Allison?
Yeah, Lustin?
Yeah, because I figured Allison has filled him in and in what we've already shared with him. So we're just going to give him an update as when Allison left, what we encountered in there, and answer any questions he has along the way.
Sure.
And then also let him know the things that we bumped into on our way back.
Gotcha.
Well,
yeah, so as you kind of go through the story, you notice he's listening very intently. Agath sort of sits in his chair, pretty stone-faced, really doesn't have any emotion at all whatsoever when you're talking. Doesn't appear bored, but also appears almost as if he knows this already, like he's either seen this or has like been along with you the whole time, where he really has no emotion at all. And as you're kind of finishing up the story, talking about going to the plane of shadow and everything that had happened in the tomb all the way up to that point, just prior to you getting to the encounter on the road, you see that Manzorian kind of his expression sort of darkens and appears to be vastly troubled. And you've seen this look before. You saw it with Elagos and you saw it with Alustin. And he kind of sort of takes his hand and sort of rubs it across the top of his head and says, okay. And then you'd kind of tell him about the the encounter on the road, and he sort of tilts his head a little bit, and he says, "Interesting. And what was his name again?" The name of the person that he works for, and again, you guys repeat the name to him, and he says, "Oh boy." He kind of rubs his hand across his face. He says, That is one of the greater demons that is in the plane of hell. He must have gotten a part of the rod. Oh boy." Kind of rubs across his forehead. He says, "This is not good."
Wants our part.
Well, he says, so he kind of looks to you and he says, "Oh dear. Well, this is troublesome." He says, "May I see the artifacts that you have? May I just take a look at them and see which part you have?"
Yep. As long as it doesn't look like it concerns our wizard friend there from so long, as long as he looks relaxed about
Yeah,
it.
he looks very relaxed. He kind of has also collaborated with your story and kind of told him what has gone on. And so he kind of looks at the artifacts and he says, "I was afraid of that. Yes, this is the largest part of the rod of 7 parts. Do you guys know anything about the rod?"
We had read some things about this device as it related to the some lords that we've been dealing with.
Yes.
But no, not in particular. I know that it was used in some battles
Well,
that they were in. So
yes. It's probably been about I don't know, many eons before the rod was fully intact again. The problem with the rod of 7 parts is that it only stays together for a short period of time for one certain goal. Once that goal is done, the rod is broken into 7 parts and scattered across many planes. Once one part of the rod is found, however, all the other parts appear in all the other planes, and everybody is able to collect it and try to rush to collect the rest of the pieces. The person that puts it all together can use it either for good or bad. The problem, though, is the largest piece you are not able to find any of the other pieces, but the smaller pieces know always where the larger piece is. I suspect he was coming to get the larger piece. He must have a smaller piece. Kind of looks around. He says he's not going to let you go until he gets this piece. He will continue to send tougher and tougher creatures to try to kill you.
Well, he sent plenty tough ones this last time.
Yes, the barb demons and the bone demons are very difficult, but I know he has much more in his grasp. He kind of looks at. He says, "May I see your other artifacts as well?"
Yep, show him each piece.
So he kind of looks through it and he says, "Well, I know quite a bit about the Age of the Worms, and the Age of the Worms prophecy predicts that several major artifacts shall surface in the months before the end. It does not indicate that any of the the artifacts are one or the other. However, I do know that several have surfaced as of late. The black blade of Aknar Ratala has shown up. The tomb of the Black Heart was found down in Neverwinter. The Obsidian Eye was found out in the Shining Marshes. And the Dread Forge was found in the Underdark. And Binding of Irvatus was found as well. And now you have the rod, one part of the rod of the 7 parts. This is very disconcerting."
So are those each pieces of the rod?
No, those are actually separate artifacts in themselves. So the prophecies all state that when the Age of Worms is about to become to fruition or to the end, all these artifacts suddenly come to be. This could be dire news for the material plane.
Great.
He kind of continues to ask, and he says, "I have been doing some research, and I do know some stuff about the Age of the Worms that I'd like to pass on to you, and maybe we can kind of work on some things and see." So he says, the Age of the Worms is a prophecy that's been speaking of a coming apocalypse for many, many eons, age of death and writhing doom. You may have seen such images on your adventures and seen things of portrayed with the people that you've dealt with.
As a matter of fact, we have.
Yeah. Normally these usually are dismissed, Doomsday's prophecies, nothing really to be of all that importance, just, more than madness of people and whatnot. But this prophecy seems to be different. This one is traced back through many books and tablets, and matter of fact, some of them here that I'm looking at here that I can tell. And, for 2,000 years they've been discussing this. And I've seen that the content hasn't changed, and it has not evolved through the clumsy attempts of many fanatics trying to bring it back and whatnot for their own agendas. But just because of that, it would be enough for me to merit further study. But the interesting fact is, in the last several years, several of its predictions have actually come true. One of the prophecies predicts a ruin by fire in a city built in a bowl of the Spire shadow. And just to the south, there was a city that was built in a dormant volcano just a few miles from where Kaios' home once was, the Spire of Long Shadows. That's, I think, what the Spire means, the Spire shadow. It was nearly destroyed by a volcanic eruption. And then other prophecies talk about worm-eaten dead and recovery of potent artifacts from ancient tombs, then destruction of a demonic tree in a distant city across from the sea, and the arrival of the Fane of Scales amid a storm of wind and fire, cleansing evil taint from a city that's besieged by giants. These events have all come to pass or have quite recently. In fact, there are only 2 prophecies that actually remain to be fulfilled. One of them is a reunification of a tripart spirit. I assume this is the goal of the Ebon Triad that you had dealt with earlier. The second prophecy reads, "And on the eve of the Age of Worms, a hero of the pit shall use his fame to gift a city to the dead." I believe this is probably relating to Loris Rakian. You remember him, of course, who tried to attempt to sacrifice thousands of people with the Apostle of Kaios that you guys were able to destroy. I know you played a role in this prevention. However, it remains to be seen that the actions actually have made a difference or not. I'm not sure, but it would be foolhardy to assume that those who are trying to fulfill the prophecies have stopped their efforts. Tell me what you know of Kaios. Have you learned anything?
Well, other than what we've already covered, I can't remember we learned anything particularly special about Cayuse.
Alrighty. So,
At least that we didn't note that. Yeah, I don't remember anything
Okay.
really that particular.
all right. So he kind of talks about, kind of tells you a little bit. He says, well, he says, I do know from my studies that Cayuse actually is sort of an enigma. We really don't know a lot about him. However, we do know that he actually was mortal at one point and was a powerful priest who ascended to godhood. He had ruled a city called Kuluth Mar, which was far to the south, back in the Chuthian Peninsula, which is very far south. If you are familiar with that, definitely couldn't travel there by land. And it was famed that this city, he was known for creation of the undead. He would create undead. A former companion of mine, a wizard named Balakard, made an extensive study of Cayuse and his ways. You might even say he was sort of obsessed with Cayuse.
Well, is he still around?
Well, I haven't seen him in a long time, but when he learned about Kuluth Mar, the city, being the likelihood of, his kind of divine area, he could barely restrain himself. I told him not to go and investigate the ruins. One does not simply teleport yourself into an unknown region without doing some research, but he didn't listen. He left immediately, and then 2 weeks later, returning a couple weeks later with kind of this wild look in his eye. He didn't say much about what he found there, and before he moved on, he asked me if I would hold on to some of his notes. He promised to return later and tell me more, but the time was short, and he had to head north to follow a new lead up by the Spire Mountains. So I intended to try to track him down, but unfortunately other events conspired to take my attention away. I suspect he's probably dead now, or worse, I guess.
Oh.
He told me about the location. He said they're in a jungle far to the south that we talked about, and he estimated that the Cayuse ruled the city kind of more than 2,000 years ago from a fortress that was called the Spire Long Shadow that I'd already kind of told you about. He believed it was kind of the site of Cayuse's ascension to godhood. He built a ziggurat there to serve as a foundation for the Spire. He also wrote that the ziggurat had powerful magic focus that was kind of around it for a ritual that propelled him into the divine. He said a lot of the might probably left the city of Kuthmar, but I'm sure there's some powerful undead servants that still linger there that know Cayuse and probably would answer more questions. But it definitely is probably a very dangerous place. He in his notes he put that he visited several times to the city, but he never actually went into the spire itself. He says he actually had a picture of that same place that he had, and he had traveled with some friends, and they had gone with him, and they were seen kind of on the edge, and he kind of painted a very vivid picture of what it looked like. He kind of walks you over and sort of points to this picture that you can see. There's the picture in front of you, and I think I have... that's kind of him.
That's a nice piece of tail.
Nice. And so he kind of points over to you, and you kind of see the picture on the wall that you can kind of see there, sort of pointing over. And he says, "This is the ziggurat that he talked about in the Spire of Long Shadow." And if you look closely to the picture, and he kind of points to you, and kind of points down at the black sort of circle that's around there. He says, I'm not sure what that is. It looks like some sort of stone. It's about 30 feet high, and it completely encircles the ziggurat, and I cannot see inside. I'm not sure what that is. It disturbs me greatly, though. He says, I have a feeling the next part of this quest to stop the Age of Worms is probably there, I would think. I can't think of any other leads. Unfortunately, after you guys have destroyed, or fortunately after you destroyed the Apostle of Cayuse, we haven't seen much worms in the area or reports of worm-like creatures.
How far of a ride is this?
He says you would not be able to ride here. You would definitely need to probably teleport there. Have any of you been down south to the Chuthian Peninsula?
No, not in a while.
Not in a while. Oh boy. Okay. Well, he says this picture is actually very accurate. So if Cormir, if you want to cast a teleport spell, you can focus on this, and you'll be able to teleport. I'm more than happy to have Chingo come in here with you, and we can get you on your way. There is one thing, though. I think that the rod of 7 parts is going to be sort of a nemesis for you guys. I think that you're constantly going to be bothered by these demons. I'm more than happy to hang on to that rod if you would like, and in exchange for that, I offer you a powerful magic item for each of you of your choice.
Perk. Well, sure.
My collection may not be of to your standards, of course, and Celeste sort of chokes a little bit on her drink, but and she's kind of all perked up. And he says, but each of you are more than welcome to. I would say the rod is probably worth maybe 100,000 gold pieces, if I would estimate, and I am more than willing to give all of you, including Carl and Chingo, something that's worth 25,000 gold apiece, something magical, if you would be interested.
Let's see if we can negotiate a little more value out of this.
Okay.
So it's a once in a lifetime item.
Uh-huh.
And it's something that they're all seeking to get put together.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason this guy wants it is because he wants it. So let's just see if we can work out a negotiation here.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Try a little diplomacy there and see if I can't get the value up just a little bit, or at least for me.
Alrighty. Alright, no problem.
But
So,
preferably even value for everybody.
yeah. So he kind of smiles. He says, I've heard about that about you, Bose. I understand that you're always looking for a good deal. He says, we'll do 40,000 for each of you. So any item that is worth 40,000, you are more than welcome to have. So let's see, that would be 40,000 times 6, 240,000. So yes, for an item that's worth about, what I had said, 100,000, I think that's pretty fair.
It is a once in a lifetime item. And we'll probably be out there trying to find the other pieces. We'll give you the first opportunity to acquire them from us.
All right. He says, fine. This is my final offer. Whatever items you get, I am more than happy to cast a spell, a polymorph any object for each of you that will customize it to have any look you would prefer. Any special items, flames coming off the sword, anything to make it spectacular. I'm more than happy to do that, and it would be a permanent spell. Would you be interested?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Everybody else?
I think I'm gonna go looking for some sort of holy weapon.
All righty. The rest of you guys, Cormer, you asleep? I put you asleep with my long story. All right. Just checking. I just want to make sure I didn't put you all to sleep. There was a lot to talk about, and I couldn't link it. So
40 watt phase plasma rifles.
yeah, it's on its way. So
Checks in the mail.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, a plane traveler. So he you guys are gonna hand over the rod, and yep. So he as soon as you pull it out of the bag, he says, oh, absolutely, and he kind of hand it over to him, and he has it in his hands, and you just sort of see this as soon as it goes in his hands, this look of almost ecstasy in his face. He says, oh, Beautiful. Just beautiful. He says, well, I will definitely deal with the rest of them, and I will continue on my planar travels to look for the other pieces to help, obviously, in this battle against this terrible Cayuse that's coming. And he says, I have one other thing that I can offer prior to your transportation or your leaving this area. I have a special artifact in the basement of my fortress. It's a very interesting artifact, and I'll be honest, other than you, very few people have actually seen it because it's a very powerful thing, and I don't want many to know that I have it. It's a fountain that is downstairs, and it has several cups that are with it. You never know what's going to happen when you drink out of the cup, but either good or bad can occur, and it can cause life-altering events for you. I am more than willing to offer for you to go down and to try it and see. It's called the Fountain of Fortune's Folly.
I'm all in. I'm all about luck.
Alrighty.
Yeah, let's do it.
Alrighty, sounds good. So he says, please come with you. So as you guys are walking down, he says, I was on a long adventure one long time ago, and Elagos is kind of walking with him, and you hear him say to Celeste, he's like, I've never heard of a fountain before, have you? Celeste kind of shrugs her shoulders. And he says, I was on an adventure, and I was in deep into the evil spellcaster's lair, and he had this beautiful fountain, and supposedly the story is that it would give boon, it would help anybody who drank from the blessed waters. However, it was faltered and tampered with by many greedy spellcasters, and it's kind of been left a little unreliable, and sometimes even dangerous, but I tried to bring it back and restore it. I have gotten some, but unfortunately it isn't where I would like it to be. And you guys kind of walk down there, and you see kind of in the basement there's this circular fountain, probably about 8 feet in circular in circle. It has sort of a green, sort of light greenish iridescent glow water to it. And it has a centerpiece that kind of comes up the center and is sort of spiraled, maybe 4 or 5 feet in the center of it. And it has several spouts that is kind of shooting water out. You've probably seen it at like a wedding or something like that, where they have a nice ornate fountain. And then on the top there's water that kind of circles there, and it kind of comes up into center and forms a sphere. So almost looks like a water sphere. And then there's a small little bit of water that's bubbling over the top, and it's kind of pouring over. So a very ornate sort of fountain. And you see that it's kind of cracked and stained marble, and the water is very cool and clean, and it kind of has sort of an ominous sort of feel to it, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of small little symbols that are sort of scratched on the surface of around the edge of the bowl, and then you do see some stains that are on it that kind of look almost mysteriously like blood. And then sitting at the base of the fountain is a pair of cups. One is elegantly carved ivory, and the other is crudely forged iron with spots of rust. He says, so as you guys get down there, Manzorian says, so this is a choice, and your gods will guide you on which choice to choose. You have to choose one of the 2 cups. If you drink without a cup, nothing will happen. He goes over, takes a handful, slurps it down, says nothing occurs. But if you drink from one cup or the other cup, you may either have good fortune or bad fortune.
What if you drink from your own cup?
You could give it a try and see what happens.
Yeah.
So we pick a cup?
So that's going to be the key. Yep, and then each of you will tell me which cup you pick or which cup you're going to drink through, and then I'll have you, once you tell me, then we'll essentially you'll all drink at once, but you'll drink one after another, but you won't know the effects until everybody's done.
Any difference in the looks of the cups? Or they look
Yeah.
identical?
Yep, nope, they look different actually. One is elegantly carved ivory, and the other is crudely forged iron with spots of rust.
Definitely taking the rusty cup. I saw it.
Ooh.
Indiana Jones.
All right.
So your character's on Indiana Jones?